So I like to do introductions differently, not these like formal bios that people have, but like just why I love the person and why I have them here. So I wrote a little something for you, Rea. So Rea Fox is a ray of sunshine, joy, and possibility. She's a well of wisdom, insight, and inspiration. Her strength and durability is evident in her spirit and presence. From the moment I met Rea, I was blessed. Blessed with a friend, sister, auntie, and elder, all packaged in one golden human being. Even though we've only recently met, it's as if we've known each other for lifetimes. Rea is an encouraging guide with decades of experience in various aspects of life. Not only is she a mother to a grown adult, she's also a grandma to 2 twin boys. And not only so, but she's an actress and a singer, performer. Is not afraid of the stage. I cannot say the same. But she was Tina Turner, y'all, for many years. How many years did you do that?
I did.
A lot of years.
Yeah, in Waikiki.
Yeah, in Waikiki.
And Japan, and Guam.
And in Japan, and Guam. All right. Right? So Tina Turner, here you go. She has also been a Cards of Destiny interpreter for 2 decades plus, and basically can tell you all about yourself. It's really cool. I did one of her readings. So from Wild Mama Voices inception, Rea has been an avid supporter and fierce presence here. I wanted to invite her to impart her wisdom and share her range of experience with us, because it's so easy to get lost in the day-to-day and forget to see the bigger picture. And society has us believing that we are only as good as the present moment we're in. And so I wanted Rea to give us greater perspective and insight on life through the ages and stages, so we can expand beyond the moments that we're in. Rea, I'm so grateful to have you and honored you're my friend. Thank you for being and always bringing joy and gratitude to the places and spaces you enter. We are all so lucky to have you here today. I love you.
I love you too. That was so beautiful. Thank
Welcome. Come on in.
The first thing that I have to share is that when another person starts acknowledging you in this wonderful way, the greatest gift that you can give to the person who's acknowledging you and the people who are hearing the acknowledgement is to just be as present as possible and receive all of it. Because none of these things come out of nowhere. There's nothing to gain. She's not trying to, So these things are sincere and authentic words from the heart. And when people acknowledge us in this way, for the most part, I mean, the lives that we live, the kind of more close to the ground, authentic lives that we live, they are sincere things. So the best thing that you can do, because all of us human beings, we go, oh my God, that's so much. Am I all that? Because we grow up in this society that tells us,
No, honey.
No, you're not. And to stop and breathe and receive all of it. It blesses the person, it blesses yourself, it allows you to expand in these very subtle and not so subtle ways. So that's the first thing that I want to share. Thank you for allowing me to just be in that moment of being showered with golden wonderfulness and saying a yes, absolutely.
Yes.
This is my intention.
Yes. Actually, I would love for you to actually expand on that, because I think while it's easy to say that we should be able to receive that, it's not so easy for many of us. So I'm curious, like, where that even came from in you. Like, how did you get to that point of being able to receive?
A lot of it came from, I would have to say, through performing. I did not grow up in one of those cocoons that nurtures the child and what do you want, honey? What would you like to be? That was definitely, I've run into a few people lately where they had these beautiful, embracing childhoods, and whatever they wanted to do, mom was like, yes, go for that. That was nothing like my childhood. Now, I'm saying that because I feel everybody gets what they need. And so what I needed is harsh as it might have seemed at certain points, that was like me squeezing out of my cocoon, or being squeezed out of my cocoon. That was what my soul needed, because no matter what happened before, here I am in B5. That's supposed to be fun. Anyway, that was before. This is B5. I used to have a friend that said that all the time, and I just thought
I'm really bad at that stuff.
That's a middle school joke, I think.
I'm quite literal. Damn it.
So, how does it happen? I was not encouraged. You know, I'm an expressive person. It's really easy for me to speak to people. Nothing comes over me. People say, don't you get nervous? And I figured out a long time ago, nervous and excitement feel about the same to me. So then it becomes a choice. And you're always wanting to be consciously choosing what's going on around you, what's going in and out of you, what's coming, how you're receiving everything. There are people who can walk through a room and did you see how she looked at me? And other people walk through a room and like, this is so wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Everybody's so nice. You know, and that's personal. That's how you choose. That's your choice. You know it's true. So it's choose all the time to just say yes to things. I mean, and that I'm not dismissing the things that we absolutely know that we need to say no to, but to say yes to life and what life is bringing you and what life is extending to you, what life is blessing you with any moment. I can say too, I don't want to be too light. Just being on stage 1,000 nights will definitely give courage. And at the same time, that's courage in a kind of a 3D way where I don't think anything can happen on stage that would throw me, because one instance, I've had these situations where, I walked out full Tina Turner costume, kicking and throwing my hands and twirled around, and my high heel shoe caught in my fishnet. And I dropped to those knees with the microphone in my hand. So, left a good job in the city. I mean, I'm just doing my thing. So the audience doesn't need to know any of that.
Yeah.
I'm twirling my heel to get myself unhooked from the fishnet. I get it to the point where I can actually somehow stand up in this dress, which was like a whisper. This Tina Turner costume is so not there. And when I did my show, and when I came off the stage, the band guys came after me and they said, wow, when did you add that drop? That looked amazing. And I said, I fell and I hurt myself. They said, you should do that every night. It looked fantastic. Well, we can laugh at how ridiculous that was. I really did hurt myself. But the point was, I just included it. This thing happened. It was awful. I could tell you another story that's equally as awful about knocking the microphone in the audience and then just, hand it back to me. What can I do if you don't hand it to me? It's like owning that moment. And that is something that comes from doing it, from being on stage, from presenting over and over. It also comes from your inner work. Inner work is so important. Inner work is whatever you do that's inner work, it's your choice. It's an endless stream of possibilities and options. And I really, in my very long life, I've tasted pretty much all of them. But that inner work gives you this core, this ineffable beingness that I can be quiet and be still and be completely background, but when it's time for me to speak, I'm present. And I'm not concerned about me and what anybody would think about me. This is the gift that you have to share yourself with. And so then it's not about you. It's a moment to allow somebody to come through you that blesses everyone present. And the love circle that comes out of that, that's life. I live for all that.
Yeah, one of the things that's really helped me step into this role of, just bringing people together and allowing myself to be seen, because as my closest peeps know, that has not been easy for me. But the thing that I keep reminding myself is that this is an offering. It's not a performance, right? I'm a vessel. It's not about my ego. Everything just like calms me after that. Like, it's been a real gift to just reframe my thinking and recognize that I'm just a channel that I can just express, and that actually I will receive a lot more joy by allowing it to come through rather than blocking it or letting my ego get in the way. So I think it's about having those ways of reframing, but I do agree that the inner work, I couldn't have gotten to that point had I not done so much work on myself. So thank you for that insight.
My pleasure.
I would love to talk to you about your mothering journey and how you became a mother, what age you were when you became a mother, and where were you at the time when you became a mama?
Where were you at is an interesting question. Where you at means inside my head, or where on the planet was I?
It could be a both and. Probably more so like where were you at in your life, you know? And I think thinking about what age you were might be helpful.
Okay.
You know, I was only 22 when I became a mother, so that says a lot about where I potentially was at. So, yeah, you can answer it however you like.
Okay. I was 31, almost 32 when my daughter was born. And I was on Oahu, and I was a single parent. I had some terror, and yet there was a part of me that had kind of run from this for a long time. I didn't see any place where there wasn't a place that I wanted to settle. There wasn't anyone I wanted to marry. You know, it was just like I was being the free spirit that I was at that time. And so I was having a baby. I was on the Big Island. I was dancing with a dance troupe, and we would go to. We had this state foundation grant to do artists in the schools, and we went to all the libraries. I danced on every concrete floor of every library on the Big Island.
Wow.
And when I was pregnant,
That's awesome.
I would sing. So I sang in all these places. I sang at the War Memorial on Kauai, all these crazy places when I think back, like Devastation Trail, seriously, Devastation Trail on Big Island. And most of my pregnancy was on Big Island, and I actually had a home birth set up and all that. And then suddenly I realized I had to come to Oahu. So it was wild, you know, it was just like a wild story. I haven't thought of this in so long, but I moved to Oahu. I moved to Oahu and had a baby. So where was I at?
No family here?
No, I came with a friend who we got an apartment, and he was very much in that role of being, my mate for that, for my giving birth. But I didn't have any family here. I hadn't been to Oahu. I'd lived on Maui for a bit. I'd lived on Big Island for a while. And then a couple of years I was on Big Island. And then I came to Oahu and just started all over because something in me was really adventurous like that. And I was in that time of my life too that, I had gone to college. I have a degree in psychology. I've done all these things sort of on the path. And then I was a flight attendant after college, and I traveled the world. And then I just kind of like got to this, the Saturn return. And I just went wild. I just wanted to do nothing that was on the sort of schedule to do. I didn't know what it was I was doing, but but I also was pretty grounded and level-headed and taking good care of myself and taking care of my baby. That's what I can say about that part.
What was those early days like for you as a mother?
As a new mom,
Yeah.
It was completely overwhelming.
Same old.
Yes, okay. So, new baby. I'm the eldest of 7, and really in my mind I raised a lot of kids. But there's nothing like your own baby. You've gone through this whole process of carrying this baby inside of your body, forming this baby, making this other human being, and then they're out. and that's it. It's you and them.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere. You can't leave them. I mean, it was shocking. It's stunning. The early part of motherhood, it's just shocking. How much is required of you? Stunning, honey, and not in that way where you're talking about a gown. It was shocking. What's required of you? The no sleeping, the breastfeeding, the keeping my own self together while bringing this human being. And I can't tell that. No, I told my daughter this once. I thought it was like me confessing, just really good. She still says, and then you thought that thought. And I'm like, oh God, let it go.
So where did you learn to be a mother? Like, did you have an idea of what motherhood should feel like, look like, be like for you at that time?
I hope that this is instructive at that age, because I was 31. I wasn't like a teenager, 20-year-old. In my mind, I think the only thing when I think back is I didn't want to be like my mother. It wasn't that the positive. I didn't want to be something positive. I wasn't looking to, I'm going to do it this way. It was, I'm not going to be like that. That's a dangerous perch. I don't recommend that. Good things came out of it, but I was also, because I was mothered and parented so heavy-handedly, I just let that child run wild. And that's not a good thing.
But I feel like that's so common because so many people know what they don't want, but maybe don't always think about what they do want.
And that's the only thing that matters, what you do want. As we learn more and more about creating in this world, creating in this life, we really have to focus our attention on what it is we want, because the universe doesn't know the difference. If I'm focusing on this thing, it's going to give me the thing I'm focusing on. If I'm focusing on what I don't want, I'm going to get some of that.
So what came out of that by focusing on what you didn't want? Like, what were you seeing in your mother as in how she parented you, and then how trying to do the opposite showed up in your mothering journey? Because I'm curious what you didn't want, if you're open to speaking about.
Oh, well, I didn't want to be so heavy-handed. I wanted to be more, free-flowing, letting her do what she wanted to do. I also didn't expect. I can remember that my child children want to be helpful. Whether you have to go back later and do it all over again, they want to do it. And I remember that I was not so forthcoming of putting the chair up to the sink and letting her wash the dishes or scrape the carrots or whatever, because for them, that's really empowering. And somehow in my mind, it's kind of like, I can do this and be done. We can move on. We can have dinner. We can do the next one. And I'm here not to in any way try to look good. I'm here to tell you the things that worked, but the things that really, I would not do it that way again. If I had, if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, kind of thing.
What are some of those things that you wouldn't do? Or that maybe you would.
Well, I would say that what I would do, I would give a lot. Well, one thing that I know that I would do is, and this is a tough one because I see many sort of reports of mothers feeling overtouched or feeling like there's just no place that's their place. The child or the children become everything. And I feel like it's so important to have that kind of real closeness, to find your spaces and your spots and your art and your moments and your rest. But as they're needing and formulating themselves and they want to be close to you all the time, there's got to be a way to balance that out. I think I can remember just being irritated because my child needs so much attention, and I had one child, but it was overwhelming. She was so attention demanding. And I look back and think I could have really done that better, just by being perfectly present. It's those moments of presence where I'm asking questions. Or the mother is asking questions. The mother is it wakes up in the morning, comes up with these little things, these games, and there's a part that I really feel it's important to find the child in yourself, to find that inner child, and let that child play. And that's where the connection is, where I, as a mom, are playing with my child, with my own inner child. I feel like there's so much satisfaction in that. I feel there's so much satisfaction for the child, and they get complete, rather than I'm just going to give you this and just do that while I'm doing this. Oh, well, here, take this to something else and just do this. That kind of, it's like avoiding. That's what I remember. I remember a lot of that. So I would do that. I would let my child definitely do more things, even if it was a hot mess that I had to clean up. They gain confidence, they gain esteem, they gain all these things from just completing to the best of their ability at all these given stages. Because we're talking about little ones right now.
Yeah. I feel like that's can be hard when you're a single mother, as you were. And I know for some of us single mamas, like even if you're not a single mama, you might be in survival mode. I think there's a lot of mamas in survival mode, and it's so difficult to slow down and be fully present when you're trying to figure out how to pay the bills, trying to figure out how to eat, how to, it's like it can be really challenging to, be in that presence.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's very challenging, and yet I'm saying,
do it anyway.
Looking back, it's the most important. It's one of the most important things. So with all the drama and all the things that are your responsibility, and you have to figure it out, and it's all weight on your shoulders, and there's moments when there's nobody there to help you. That connection is so critical, because something in them builds out of that. You can't replace that. After a certain point, you can't do that again.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it requires a level of like slowing down and allowing yourself to step back. But also I think, Nicole, based on what you were saying, like we're sovereign beings. We have agency, we have choice, right? Like you talked about being able to choose.
Yes.
So I think also a lot of, what I see that's helped me kind of navigate that is making intentional choices of where I spend my time, who I'm giving my energy to, and especially what I'm willing to buy into societally, and what I'm like, nah, that doesn't align. Because, society would have us moms believing that like martyrdom motherhood is the pinnacle of being a mother. And it couldn't be further from the truth, but that conditioning is so deep. So that's where the inner work, it feels like, comes in. When you do that inner work, you can free yourself from those lies and that conditioning that puts you in a place of constant anxiety and like overwhelm and overstretched, and I gotta do this and I gotta be that, I gotta prove myself at my job, But when you have your own values, when you have your own vision, when you have your own sense of self, then you can relinquish that pressure to be in all of that. But I feel like we're not often given the tools to do that, especially when we are, younger mothers or whatnot. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be a mother and to also be trying to heal and have your shit together and, be present to your children in that intentional way. So it is work. It's not easy. But.
No, not at all. And these kinds of circles, I didn't have a circle like this. So these kinds of circles, I feel like I want to see this expand in this age where more and more people are coming together in community and really sharing. Because what I felt was a lot was alone. I got to figure this out on my own. I got to, all of it on my own.
Yeah.
And whether that was true or not, that was the feeling that I was left with in this society.
Yeah.
And in those, it was like, go, advance, move, succeed, make more, do. And so there's the nurturing part is left out, and so you don't even have the energy to nurture your own children. I didn't have
Or
the
yourself.
energy to nurture my children because I wasn't nurtured
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was on the way here, I put a lot of stock into things that, as an intuitive, I pay attention to things that just kind of float by. If I get in my car and I'm on my way and I've got an idea and then a song comes on the radio, I think, whoa, where did that come from at this particular moment? And this song came on the radio when I was driving, and it was kind of like, I have to include that too. The song was, this woman started singing, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way, a long way, a long way from my home. And this was a real aspect of my mothering. There was a point in my life when I was actually doing counseling. I was working with people, and I realized that everybody that I was working with was really motherless children. There were women who didn't have that mother connection. It wasn't like a strong, deep. And I said, well, of course, you didn't, so your community is going to have that energy. And again, it's how do we teach people to nurture themselves if that's needed, and it's absolutely needed to be an effective and a loving and efficient and all of those kinds of words. Mother, the mother within you has to be nurtured. It doesn't matter whether you had that nurturing yourself or not. I had to learn. Another thing that popped into my mind is that I was sort of, as a person who was an educated, traveled person, I was paying attention to things around me. I would pay more attention to, and I know these trends change all the time, but what are people saying? The psychologist, the child therapist, et cetera, just check in, because there's something that I don't think I paid enough attention to. That is the sort of stages of growth, the stages of maturation, because sometimes I can think back of talking to my child like she understood what the heck I was saying. That whole brain that understands where I was coming from when she was 8 and I was talking to her in this certain way, that doesn't develop till 18, 25, something like that. And so really knowing those developmental stages and honoring them. But again, that was definitely not part of my life, so somehow that didn't happen. Yeah, I was not parented well at all. My parents, they were children of the South. I was born in Chicago, and my mom was born in New Orleans, my dad was born in Marvel, Arkansas, but they were really heavy-handed, second generation from the South. But there was I don't remember that sense of being nurtured or being read a story by my mom and being enveloped and being embraced and feeling loved as a child in that way. It was just a whole bunch of chaos. And so again, that was what I was dealt, that was what I was given, and what am I going to make out of this really is what it comes down to. The boo-hooing, so a lot of therapy in there, which I highly recommend. But going beyond that, how do I create that for myself? How do I create what I need as a woman, as a human being, as a mother, as a grandmother? How do I keep? Because I'm, now I know a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So I can keep up on what's going on and see different people's points of view, and be in circles where we can share ideas, et cetera, and not feel like I'm the only one out here making this horrifying mistake that I'm not even sure is a mistake or not, all alone.
Yeah. When did you become more aware of these things? What stage of your mothering did you start to become more aware of some of these things and even be able to learn how to nurture yourself? Because you were in your 30s, you said, you were sort of trying not to mother the way that your mother mothered, but like you have more awareness now. But at what point in your mothering journey did that awareness start to come?
In doing any kind of spiritual work, there's a great desire that comes over one to be the best possible human being one can be. So that's included in that. How can I be a better fill in the blank? What do I need to know? What do I need to research? Who do I need to talk to? What spiritual teachings do I need to expose myself to? How do I allow these things to sink into my being and actually make a difference in my life? How do I take that in, and it sounds so great when I'm in the meditation group, and then I go back and find myself doing the same thing with the same thought pattern and catch myself and go, right, we got some new stuff to work with now, right? You know, it's that process. I hope I answered the question.
Well, I'm kind of curious because I know, you know.
Oh, what stage?
We're all at different stages. And
Yes.
so I think that sometimes, especially in our society right now, everything is so fast. Like, well, if you don't figure it out, you're going to F up your kids. You're going to, you know, like, but I'm wondering if it was like, you know, was your daughter 15, 20, 25, 10 when you started, like how far in your mothering journey did you start to feel like you were maybe more connected to yourself or more aware? Just so that we can have a realistic view of like how long it takes, you know, to like kind of figure some of this stuff out.
Every journey is so individual.
Yeah.
I must say that. And once one makes the commitment to being the best human being, the best woman, the best mother, it just starts to increase. Things start to open up. You see things differently. There are new ways that present themselves. You meet a new person who does something totally different than the way you do, who thinks about things in a different way than you ever thought about before, than I like to say that ever thought before. And so it's incremental. It keeps, so there's no time when I can say all of a sudden, you know, I got that blast
That
of light,
awakening,
and suddenly I just knew.
Yeah.
No, it grows and grows. I mean, it's happening right now. My daughter, I took my daughter to the spa for her 46th birthday last week. So it just was so delightful. I told her I want to have experiences, because this is where in my life I am.
Yeah.
I want us to have experiences. I'm not going to be here forever. I want her to, we got enough stuff. So what can we do? I took her to the spa. She was in heaven to get a massage and get the dead skin rubbed off and all that. So I'm still listening. I'm still, because everybody's changing. I'm changing. My daughter's changing. The twins are changing. And so there's no sort of static or points that I can say, okay, we're going to do it like this from now on, because everything just keeps changing.
Yeah.
So it's a book for 6 months, or some rules for the year, or some thoughts that you want to play with for this period of time, but everything keeps changing. And so it's really like that constant dance.
Yeah.
Staying surfing. I think of life as just like surfing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned theater, and I did, last year I had this full-on theater year, and it really reminded me of how important the model of theater has been in my life, in that at every new stage, here's the way I put it together. We get a script, and I'm learning my script, and the set is being built, and then we do the preview night, and then we do the run, and then the show is over, and then it gets broken down, and then it's time to start rehearsing for the next one. And that has informed so much for me, to not try to hang on to things that they're done, and also it just keeps me light on my feet to really see life as theater, as this sort of changing, unfolding. This is not the end of it. There's more scenes that are coming. Whatever happened today, you don't know what part of the story. That's just part of the story. This is something that I really teach young people as well. This is just today. This is actually just right now. Anything can happen before the end of the day. You don't know, or you don't know the end of this movie. So don't take it too seriously. That was definitely when I started. And again, I can't say that it was an age, but when I stopped taking myself and things that happen in my life so seriously is the word we use, but it's more just becoming more flowing, more malleable, more malleable, more mutable, more willing to go with what was happening, and yet, creating and maintaining my boundaries. That's also a very important thing for mothers, for human beings, period. And you embracing and maintaining your boundaries is the lesson for your child. They see that. They see what boundaries are, or they see what they're not. And if they can, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, what I love about what you're saying is, like, I feel like you're saying it without saying it is how non-linear the journey actually is. And we're so conditioned to believe that it's just a linear, straight and narrow path with one way. You're either doing it right or you're doing it wrong. But in Wild Mama, and just when you're aligning more to the rhythms and cycles of nature, you know that things are cyclical or they're spiral, right? And so they're not linear at all.
Yes.
And for me, I know that, like, when you think of like alignment, some people again think of something static, like it clicks and then it's just aligned forever. But it's not. Like, I tell my mamas all the time in my program that alignment isn't static, right? The status quo, it tries to keep you static, right? Like, but we're not trying to be aligned to the status quo. We're trying to be aligned to the energy of our souls, right? So that changes. And so being in alignment is actually allowing yourself to be on that rhythm, to be on that cyclical
it's surfing
nature.
Life, surfing life. No wave is the same. You can get strong, you can get the right equipment, you can check the how it's looking out there, but you have no control of what the wave is going to be like.
Yeah.
And so when you think of it like surfing, that's the next stage for me of the theater model. Think of it like surfing, and also think of the word alignment. Alignment to me has that same quality as the word balance. I think for a long time I thought balance was
equal.
Static.
Yeah.
How do you stay balanced? It's constant.
Yep.
And that whole metaphor of when a plane flies from here to the West Coast or anywhere in the world, most of the time it's off course. And so it's balancing, it's bringing back to center, it's aligning, it's realigning, and never giving yourself grief for when you found yourself off balance or misaligned. Grief doesn't help. I can say, okay, I see what happened there. I see where I went off. Here's what I would do next time, or here's how, that kind of thing. But as far as there's a lot in this society that I experience too, of people just beating themselves up for any and everything that they felt wasn't perfect. We're looking for some kind of ideal perfect.
Yeah, who can resonate with that?
When I gave up on that, and it's just kind of like, yeah, well, that's what happened. And it's not being. It can seem very sort of, I didn't care. That's not the point.
Right.
That's what happened. This is what I have to work with. Let's move forward.
Yeah, I love that. That's wisdom from the ages. Thank you for that. So I'm 38 with 3 kids, and I'm curious what you would tell your 38-year-old self.
Laugh more, play with your baby more. Take yourself less seriously. You don't know exactly what that means yet, but keep working on it, keep looking. Find time every day and every week to schedule your time for yourself so that you don't feel like you just got swept away by all this other stuff and you paid no attention or no mind to what you needed for that day or that particular time of life. I think if looking back right now, I think I would tell myself, you haven't thought about this because you're so involved with this space and keeping it all together, but why don't you just sell everything and put some stuff in storage and take a trip? You and this baby could go around the world. You could see foreign lands. You could experience all these different foods, and you're savvy enough. You grew up. I wonder what that book is called now, but when I was growing up, it was Europe on $5 a day. Anyway, so you know how to do stuff like that. Take your baby and travel. And I've seen people, you know, especially couples with a couple of kids,
Yeah.
just traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
Because that's a life, that's a choice.
Yeah.
I would say open it up. That's what I would tell myself.
Open
Open it
up. I
up.
love
Open up
that.
the possibilities.
Yes.
You don't know what's possible until you dream and then say, I'm just going to do that.
Yes.
And see what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's look a little bit further now. Like, you're an elder, right? You're like 40 plus my senior. What do you think your 95-year-old self would tell you?
That's a good one.
Hey.
My 95-year-old self would say, girl, you did really great.
Aww.
With what you had, with the deal that you were, the hand that you were dealt in this life, and the things that you overcame. And you got to a point where you were just happy and smiling all the time through whatever happened. And that alone, because see, that's the secret. Once I start being happy no matter what happened, once I start, you know, taking good care of myself, taking care of my own needs, and just being joyful in whatever was going on. And I mean, whatever is going on, that changes the whole quality of everything. So I would be telling myself, girl, you did great.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, last year I was really communing with my 90-year-old self a lot. I was trying to call in more elders, and, you know, my mom passed, you know, when I was just 24, 25. So I've been trying to connect more with my 90-year-old self, my 95-year-old self. And I would tell you, if y'all give yourself the space to connect with your future self that far in the future, it really tells you about what matters, what you actually care about. And it can give you a lot of perspective on the stuff that you really don't need to be worrying about right now. So
And all of these things are things what you're speaking of right now. When I was growing up anyway, that was you just imagining. That's your imagination.
Yeah.
Well, imagination is your creative superpower. So imagine, let yourself open up and imagine what it would be like if, and then imagine your 95-year-old self speaking to you, and amazing things happen. This is not, you know, when I was growing up, because older, airy-fairy, and you're just imagining, and you're making that up, and you're dreaming, and what kind of meds are you taking, or what kind of drugs are you on? It's just like all of these states we have access to all these states and worlds, and use them. Don't let that go to waste, and don't let this world convince you that things are just because they're not.
Last question for you, Rea.
Okay.
What is your biggest dream right now? Like, what do you want most for yourself at this point in your life?
I want to write. This is what I feel like. This is what I feel like.
Writers
I'm
in the house.
Going through. You inspire me. Your writing is so flowing and
thank you.
And I'm still, even though, you know, everything in my astrology says you were born to write and you have all of this facility for writing, I got some kind of poisoned idea a long time ago that I couldn't do that. It's another one of those things that life says, here, take this and throw that in there and let me see what you do with that one. But I know that I'm getting to it, just the way that I'm feeling today. And the wintering, I loved what you wrote about. I'm really feeling that wintering.
Yeah.
Even the motherless child thing coming up. I'm right now actively accessing communication with my child, my inner child, my own inner child, say 8 years old. And she's just like, you want to write, but you need to dance with me and play with me first. We need to go to the bookstore and read a book together. And you need to take me to lunch and we have ice cream.
Oh,
you know what I mean? For real.
Yeah.
So
I'll take you to ice cream. I love going for ice cream.
You'll do anything for ice cream. Come on. So I'm breaking through all of that right now. That's what I'm doing because I want to write. I see myself as just being once it starts, there'll be no stopping.
Yeah.
Is really what I'm picturing right now. I want to write in the Cards of Destiny area. There's a book that I want to write, and it's massive. This thing that I've seen that nobody else has researched, and I just want to write things that come through me. I feel like once I move my ego self out of the way, there's all this information and just beautiful words, thoughts that want to come through me. and something has been like holding it back. And this is the era. This is the time when it's time to let her rip.
Yeah. Thank you, Rea. Let's give it up for Rea. The dreaming never ends, mamas. We should never block ourselves from dreaming. So okay, let's go around. Who has a question for Auntie Rea? Alika, I don't know if you want the mic, but
I guess it's okay.
okay.
So tonight is reminding me of one of my favorite children's books to read to my son. And it's called Kai the Opihi Gets the Point. Have you read that?
Say the name
Kai
again?
the Opihi Gets the Point.
No.
Right? So it's about an opihi, something like that, and opihis are supposed to be cone-shaped, but this one's flat. And so he goes around to all his friends asking, like, how can he be cone-shaped? And they give him different advice. His friends are like, oh, eat seaweed, do this. And he tries all these things, it doesn't work. But he finally goes to an elder, and he says, how can I get my point? And she says, go to a rock and just hold on. And he says, well, what if I'm really afraid of waves. The waves are gonna come and knock me down. And she says, like, just hold on, like cling to something.
Yes.
And then once he does that for a few days, even though he's afraid, he gets his point.
Yes.
And so my question to you is, what do you feel that you've clung to that has helped you become like stronger?
Damn.
Faith, family, friends.
That's a beautiful
Wow.
question, beautiful setup. Thank you.
Wow.
The faith that I'm always going to land on my feet. The faith that I really, really know. The faith that my ancestors are watching out for me. And I'm getting cues all the time. And when I slow down and pay attention to what's going on around me, just like I was saying about that song, I listen to everything that's going on around me. And there's messages in the wind and the birds' song. It really is being present and paying attention. I kind of drifted right there. So what was the nature of what was the last focus part of the question
You
again?
answered it.
Thank
what
you.
What you cling to.
What?
You answered it. What you cling to.
What I cling to, yes, I cling to this inner knowing that it all keeps working out, no matter what. It looks like at any given moment, it's all working out. And it's working out in my favor. You know, and if there's a door, something I really was going towards and that closes, rather than, I'm like, okay, what else is opening? That wasn't it, but it's over here somewhere. You know, it's really that faith that it's always working out, and it's always working out in your favor. And
Beautiful.
it's easy to lose that in this world, but cling to that. Yes. Thank
love
you.
that.
Beautiful question.
Beautiful question, Lika. Thank you. Who else has a question?
What was the first authentic yes to myself, and what was the first authentic no? I remember so vividly saying yes to that show, where I was really stepping out of something that was safe for me and for everybody around me.
Which
How
show?
people,
Tina Turner?
When I did it was called Flashback.
Flashback.
When I got called and come and audition, and all these people were from Las Vegas, and I was, from Hawaii and Chicago, really had little performing background. And I went and did that audition, and I knew that was mine. I said yes to myself. No part of me said, no, you can't have that. That's way too much. You don't know anything about this. This is a Vegas show. You got to do all this. No, I was like, that's for me. There was not even a question. I went home. I was so calm. I remember that so strongly that I knew that was for me, and that was going to change my life, which it did.
Wow.
Lots of no's, but jobs I've left. Husbands I've left. It's like we can't move forward in this direction anymore. This is important to me, and raising my daughter in a certain way is important to me, and that's top score. That's top notch. So this is going to be a no for you for the rest. our time is done. You know, and feeling very, again, calm and centered, and like, oh, now what am I going to do? No, it was really it was clear that this is done. You're complete with this cycle. You're complete with this chapter. So trust that it's all working out, and let go. Again, let go. Cling. When is it time to cling, and when is it time to let go? There have been times when I can think of when I took a strong stand for myself. And again, that was not the model that I saw. But something in me was roaring and really ready to take on that. This is the person I am. I'm not what you think or what path you're trying to send me down. This is the person I am. And those are like flashes. It's like the flashes in and out. It's just like, and then the pressure of society is huge, as you well know. And so it becomes almost like building a critical mass of, I know the direction that I'm going, and I know what I want, and I know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And when it gets to be this stage of my life, it's so, there's no back and forth about it, you know. And oftentimes I immediately know. And I can be really kind, you know, I'll sleep on that. No. I'm going to just think about that overnight, okay? Because kindness is really huge for me too. There's so many ways to be in this life. So again, choose the ones that work for you. Choose the ones that have the most to offer to the world. What does the world need now more than anything? You know, it needs our heart, it needs our love, it needs our willingness and ability to connect with one another. And the world needs a whole lot more kindness. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Kulono?
Is being a mom the best thing that ever happened to you?
Be honest.
It's in the top 5. Okay. No, because I actually say that being a mom, this is another thing that I would like to have as a memorable quote. Being a mom is like, if you're doing spiritual work, being a mom is you got a guru in the house. Because you're confronted constantly with that master, with the, you know, the Zen master with the pow, or whatever, you know, whatever is your path. There's this guru who's in your face all the time, and you have to keep finding your best self. You have to keep finding the greatest of you, the most expansive, the most loving, the most, and that can have different, you know, sometimes loving is not, I'm just cuddling you, I'm giving you a piece of my mind and you can go sit in that chair. But that's the guru in the house. The child, never doubt that the child is here to teach you. Just, it's the great teacher that you are responsible for, you sort of, you know, monitoring and corralling and all that, but that's the great teacher right there.
The last time we had a conversation, you and I, we talked about the importance of holding space.
Holding space.
Yes. I want to ask you, how would you translate that into parenting? How could you hold space for your children?
Wow.
For the children.
For your own children.
It's actually, it's holding space for the whole thing. It's holding space for myself first, and then.
What does it mean to hold space?
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up in that way, because when we were having that conversation, I was thinking about how I literally learned to hold space from opportunities that opened up in my life, things that I was called forth to do, where my only role was to be present and kind of, not like a guard or anything, but to watch and hold space. So I didn't know what it was until I was doing it. And then once I understood and realized what that was about and how important it was, then I just became, you know, I'm on a mission. I'm getting my PhD in space holding.
Thank you for holding space.
And again, that's something you choose. You say yes to that. Holding space is a very noble action in life. Extremely noble. So I encourage you, if you know, I see nods, I see people nodding, go for that.
Yeah.
Even if you're in a situation where you're not involved, you're not sitting on the chair, you're not talking, feel what it feels like to hold the space. Hold space for the best, the most authentic, the most directed, the most intentional, the most loving situation. Holding space in a say you're in a family disagreement. Is your best role to jump in and have your 2 cents? Or is the best thing you can do to be the witness who's holding space? Because when you do that, it allows the whole atmosphere to shift. You're holding space for there to be peace, for people to hear and understand each other, for there to be love, that everything comes around to love. When you commit to holding space in that way, you really realize what a magical witch you are.
Yeah.
You know, how you're creating magic all the time, and those kinds of things, literally, you learn through doing. We don't always need to be saying something. I don't always have to have an idea. I'm perfectly fine being in the background, holding the room, which I do consciously all the time. The other thing I want to say about that, when you realize you are the holder of space and you are the fountain, the origin, the channel of love, it takes all of the ego stuff away. Because you are not thinking about how you look, what people think about you, blah, 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 blah. You are on this mission which is massive. You know, there was something of a community. It wasn't like when you are in a place where your actual family is, and there's aunties, and you can take a day off and you can leave them here and there and that sort of thing. But there was a community of, you know, I still interact with people that we all have grandchildren now, but our kids were born together and grew up together. So even just meeting at holidays and having family meals together and that sort of thing, out of that I found a way to nurture my sense of community. You know, I created it within myself and made myself part of it, and so that was sufficient. I wasn't going to go back to Chicago and be with that family. That was a whole other lifetime, and certainly not what I wanted for myself or my child. So I created family and community around me. I think that's really important as well. It's very easy to get in that isolated, pulled back, especially after the last few years.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big danger to us. We have to keep in touch. We have to reach out. Or I hear people say, well, nobody's calling me. Well, who have you calling? If you want to be together with people, then reach out. And somebody saying no is not the end of the story. You know, it's like sales. Just keep dialing. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question, because you've alluded to like that family, and I'm not going to be like them. And
Was
my
it that
question-
restaurant?
My question is like, well, something in you gave you the permission not to, because there's so many stories where it's like easier to just follow suit and maybe complain or blame, but it's like you really made a very conscious choice. So where did that come from? Did you see it in your family? Did you, in any of your, like, how did that
I was a
spark
big
to-
reader. I was a reader.
So tell us about
So
that.
I read stories of people having adventures, and I knew there was a big wide world. I can remember being a child. It was something in me, because I can remember asking my mother, well, where do we live? We live in Chicago. Well, what's that in? Illinois. Well, what's that in? The United States. Well, what's that in? I wanted to know the bigger thing, even when I was a little one. I could almost remember. I could look at the sliver of window, and I was trying to remember where I was before. So I might have been, like 3, 2, 3, 4, something like that. But there was something else. So there was always that call in my soul. And I think that there are some people who are just born with that. Yeah. And I was always looking for a bigger experience, you know. Yeah, I went to this small ag school in southwest Wisconsin, and I managed to get myself a summer in Europe, traveling all over Europe, and I went to, you know, the poli-sci students were going to the Soviet Union. That was long before y'all time, but the Soviet Union. Yeah, all over these places that I read about and I knew that I needed to see. So I just signed up for those poli-sci courses. Did I care anything about poli-sci? Did I actually? No, not at all. But I was there. If an opportunity was there, then I had to just chance on it.
Seize it.
You know, and I was
That's
free and
beautiful.
easy in those days. Yeah. Again, that's the yes saying, I guess. I just wanted to know more. I wanted it to be bigger. I wanted more. The world that I read about in books was way bigger than anything that I saw around me. The people that were around me were making everything around us really important. Like, if this is the way it is and this is the way it's going to be. But in my heart and my mind, I knew that was not true. And that as soon as I could get out, I was going to go see the world. So, yeah.
So then, other question. Okay, last question. So, I see a connection with literature or writing being what was almost like your anchor to know that there's more than this. And now we're on this side of your life, and you're feeling called to write. So, any authors that come into mind, or writing that you would like to let us know about, that moved you when you were younger, that helped to direct your life, or something that, whether it was a quote, an author, a book that really was like life changing for you?
You know, it's a long time ago. And I want to make an emphasis about this. A long time ago, there's just so many things where I start thinking about something and it's like, did that happen in this lifetime? And I'm serious, you know, it's like we're such a long time ago. And I'm having fun with it, but for real. So I can remember when the book that changed my life, I started reading Tom Robbins. You know, I mean, when I was growing up, I read the Odyssey and the Iliad and these faraway places and these myths. I was really into Edith Hamilton. I was really into mythology, the mythological characters and the Roman gods and the Greek gods, and that just took me to a whole other place.
Tom Robbins is an author?
Tom Robbins is an author. He wrote a book called Another Roadside Attraction. Whenever I go to, like, what book really just kind of shook my whole life up. I was definitely a grown-up at this point, but it was just like, there's this still the whole other world that I have to explore, because I created what was the big win. You know, I graduated from college, I married a professional man, we owned a home, and I was a flight attendant. At that point, it would seem like all my dreams had come true. They had not. There was this was all the things that I was programmed up to that point to desire and to know that these were going to fulfill me. And there I was, and I had to go. I had to go find me. I had to go find not somebody else's idea of who I was supposed to be, or what I was supposed to want, or how I was supposed to feel. I had to find me. What do I authentically want? Where do I want to be? What work do I want to be doing? What kind of person do I want to be with? What kind of person do I want to be? Yeah, so Another Roadside Attraction.
Another Roadside Attraction.
Yes, was really a very life-changing book. Tom Robbins, he's a Southern boy. He's a very funny guy.
Jitterbug Perfume.
Beautiful.
Jitterbug Perfume, I was just going to say. I saw a copy of Jitterbug Perfume online for some like $400 something. I'm like, where's my book?
What?
Yeah, no, because people can't get it anymore or whatever.
Wow.
Jitterbug
Perfume.
is another Tom Robbins. It's so sassy. It's absolutely sassy. It'll make you laugh out loud and tears will stream down your face. But it shows you, you know, just like other possibilities. It's their mind expanding kind of reading. But mostly for me was the mythological world as a child. A lot of mythology, a lot of like historical. I wanted to know then who were these Greeks and who were these Romans and what did they do? And yeah, so reading really took me out there.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rea.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your beautiful questions. You're so beautiful, Rea. Thank you so much
Such a
for
pleasure.
blessing all of us. It means so much to me that you continue to be here, that you offer your gifts, your love, your wisdom. Yeah, I don't have words.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all of you, because it really does matter that each one of you are here. I really do believe the way that I started, mothers are the roots of the earth. We have to nourish our roots. We have to nourish each other. And as we nourish each other, our ecosystem of the forest will grow. And the mothers across the world will heal, which means the world will also heal. So, shall we dance now?